Good morning, guys. Once again, welcome to Career Counseling Online. Hopefully, all of you are doing good. Fantastic. Well, thank you for asking. I'm doing good myself. Well, constantly we are getting these survey reports across the globe from across the organization, wherein it reveals a sad part. It reveals that people are leaving their bosses, not their organizations. Repeated survey has brought this fact that people who are displeased with their boss tends to leave a great organization irrespective of higher salary, perks and rewards. In such a situation, it must be very difficult for you, being a boss, being the manager, being the director, to lead your team, motivate and retain them within the organization, because if there is a high rate of attrition, it creates two impact. First, it creates a very negative impact for your business in the business world. Second, it is very stressful for you to get into the process of getting the right resource, once again training them, recruiting them in the department, aligning them with their responsibility and getting them into a productive mode while the production is going full scale, while you have a project in hand, while you have targets to meet. That is stressful, and one fine day or others, you are bound to face a question like, why are people leaving from your department, or why are employees in your organization not feeling happy and they're leaving? What is going wrong? Now, when that goes into the market, obviously there are potentials of your stock prices going down, your employee morale going down, your cost of training rising up, revenue cut is going to happen due to that, and so on. So you must be wondering, what magic do I need to do to be that great boss, to be that awesome boss who is admired, followed and respected? See, guys, we will go back to understanding this, but prior to this, let me give you a quote which I heard from one of my mentor. When my son was born, and when this news I shared with my mentor, the first thing he said was congratulations. The second thing which he said, I still carry on along with me. He said, Sanjay, now you are going to understand how right your father was when your son goes up to you and comes up to you and says you are wrong on something. When your son says something which you do wrong, you might not be even aware of, but when he comes to you and says that you are wrong, you will realize with every wrong being prompted how right your father was. So how right your father was, you can understand when you are being told by your own son how wrong you were. That is a kind of lesson which I carry along with me, and honestly speaking, there have been many situations wherein my 10 years old son has come up to me and mentioned something which I was completely unaware of, and that broadened up my horizon and made me think that yes, truly there is scope for me to learn, there is scope for me not to ignore my 10-year-old son, and that he is the new teacher I have in my life. I'll give you a small example. One fine day, he came up to me and said, rather asked me, what is the smallest planet in the constellation? And I know that he was going through some encyclopedia on space science, which I have got him in his last birthday. And I said, like, Pluto. The answer was very prompt. The answer was instant. What I found is he immediately didn't say right or wrong, but he said, I have read and I have heard that Pluto is not our smallest planet. It is a dwarf satellite planet and no more considered as the smallest planet. It's a dwarf planet. Now, this dwarf planet term I have never heard before. Honestly speaking, until last year, I was under the impression Pluto being the smallest planet. Now, when he said to me, I immediately, as the father or as somebody who always believes that I know the best, what I did was I started Googling, and honestly, I found that not only last year, but it was years back that Pluto has been declared as not the smallest planet. So, see, that day I understood I have a new teacher in my life. I have new things to learn. So these days, whenever he comes up to me and says something, I cannot go instantly with an immediate answer. I rather ask him the question like, as for my knowledge, this was what was happening. This is what the answer is. But do you have a better answer? And trust me, majority of the time he's coming up with answers which makes me Google, which makes me read articles, which makes me learn things in a newer perspective. So similarly, if we take this father and son relationship, when you are a boss, if we go by the Indian tradition of the father and son family values and the kind of education, the love, the discipline which goes on, if we go by this relation in itself, what did we learn from our father? What did we see our fathers doing? Could be what could make us the best boss who's admired, respected, and followed by our subordinates, our employees, or our team members. The first thing is, what did our father do? They always try to understand us. They try to understand us as per our age. As old we were, they were trying to remodule, restructure their thought process, come back to our age and try to understand. Because it might appear crazy when your son says like, why does a human being has one head instead of two like an alien? You cannot simply say, oh, it's a childish babble, just stop this nonsense. Human beings can never have two heads. But then again, when that son shows you a picture from Google, I mean, it's a deformity, we understand, but there have been instances of twins who have been born together with their body attached, which later on they might have been operated to separate individuals. But even a single person, a single child having two heads, we have been seeing that kind of report. Yes, unfortunately, that child did not survive, but the thing is, it's possible. So I understood one thing, that he is asking question not completely illogical. His logic is building up. So, as our father, as a father try to understand, when you are a boss, you need to understand one thing. Your subordinates, your team members are like your children. They look forward to you. They look up to you for guidance. They look up to you for support. They look up to you for training. They look up to you for handholding. They look up to you to show them the right path to success, the right path to attain the kind of deliverables which is being expected. So we need to understand, you being a boss, you need to understand, when an employee walks into your cabin, when an employee walks into the workspace, he is not simply a money vending machine. An employee is not there only to earn revenue or profit for you. That is one point you need to be very, very clear about. You need to understand, your employees are not money printing machines. They are human beings who walks into the office with emotions. They have families, they have parents, they have family members who might have been sick, who might have been going through some stress, who might have been going through some difficulty. When you tend to ignore those kind of emotions, it becomes very difficult for them to feel connected. Because think about it, when our children are looking towards us, if they constantly find dejection and rejection from us, they will seldom trust us being their well-wisher. So when your subordinates are walking into that office, you need to understand, they have a father, they have a mother, they have a wife, they have children. Something happy might be going in his life, something sad might be going in his life. When an employee is completing first 1 year of his marriage anniversary, and on that anniversary day when he's reporting to office, I mean, you might be saying as a boss, well, that's your goddamn job, you took this job and you have to come to office, you have to report. But wouldn't it have been a bit better if that particular day you would have just, sent a mail to him wishing him a nice, happy family life? And, one day beforehand, if you could have sent this message like, wishing all the best to both of you from the team, like let's say the organization name XYZ, and tomorrow we want you to celebrate with your partner, with your family. All right, it could be a marriage anniversary, it could be a birthday, it could be their parents marriage anniversary, whatever the occasion is. You as a boss, when you take that initiative to understand the importance of that occasion in that person's life, and you send a mail and mention that, what, tomorrow why don't you spend your time with your family, you can work from home and you can spend the time with your wife, with your father, with your mother, and celebrate that event. And on the human note, tomorrow when you come to office, don't forget to bring that pizza. Now see that what it is doing is, I'm just joking about the pizza, that bringing that pizza or that coffee is not a mandate, but what does this do? That makes the employee immediately feel at ease. They immediately start believing you as somebody who respects their family life, their family values, and they are not under the sad impression of that today is such an important day, I wish I could have spent it with my wife, or I could have spent, like it could be like 40 years of marriage of their parents, of his parents. Like when he has to come to office and by the time he goes back, his parents might have gone back to bed, right? The whole day gone. You could have bought the employee could have bought a nice present, but that cannot make for your presence with them. It would have been much better if that employee could have spent his time with his wife or with his parents, right? And at the same time, when he gets this mail and approval of working from home, he feels that you are trying to balance his personal life and professional life. So he will have more respect towards you. He will have more respect towards your work ethics. And trust me, there will be days when he will work extra mile, extra hours, extra in terms of deliverables, even before you ask, before you even make him do it, because he will step forward, be proactive, because he understands one thing: here is my boss who respects my life, who respects my feeling, who respects how I feel within my family. So he's here to take care of my family part also. So why not I go ahead and shoulder more responsibilities with my boss and deliver, or make him comfortable, or provide that support to him to get that complex project completed within the time, to meet that service level agreement, to get the things done within the AHT, the average handling time. So this is an employee who will believe, who will start understanding that you as a boss, you respect his space of life in which he has the family. You respect him for being a human to the family that he comes from. You respect him for being the husband, for being the son, for being the father. When that happens, you have an employee who respects you as a boss, not only as somebody to whom he reports to, but as a human being who understands human emotion, who takes initiative in understanding his employees or report his life. That is one way of becoming that great boss that you've been thinking of. Second is, think about when we did something wrong, when our parents, or when my father or your father took that initiative of teaching you something. Like, see, this is how this thing works. I remember the very first time, I didn't know how to, operate a mixer machine. The very first time I was in school days, I was most probably in class 6 or 7, I remember, and I didn't know how to change the blades as per the kind of ingredients that you're putting in the mixer machine. So it so happened that I actually did put the wrong blades, and when I tried to grind that rock salt, it literally broke the blade. So my father was very angry, honestly speaking, because it was a very brand new mixing machine. But then he did not beat me up, right? He said that Do you know that these blades are detachable? These blades needs to be changed. Or did you read that manual? I was not aware. So he took that manual out, and every time, trust me guys, every time I use a mixing machine right now, I remember that day when my father gave me that manual. He took that time to educate me. So when you are a boss, when you have a team reporting to you, and looking forward to you, and you are guiding them, it is one most prime responsibility of yours to educate them about the process, to educate them about the process change, the process improvements that you're trying to work on, the new kind of products which is coming, the product training has to happen, new skill sets, upgradation training. You need to constantly educate them. Now, what will that do? They first feel you as a mentor, not a boss. They understand that you are trying to align their skill set with what is being expected, or what is going to be expected in the coming days by the organization. So here is, while you are trying to get one guy trained in CCNA networking certification, you might be getting another guy trained into quality parameters. Some other guy might be getting trained into coding. So what that does do is, not only you come to them as a mentor, as a guide who is looking into their profile and aligning their knowledge, skill set, and the deliverables, you also appear as somebody who cares about their growth. Now, understand one thing: the salary, the perk, the rewards, recognition, these are means to control dissatisfaction among employees. But these are not only the point for which an employee is joining the organization. An employee is joining the organization for growth. Understand that when that growth is assured by you constantly, they see you as somebody who is a guide, who is a mentor, who is a well-wisher, and is helping them grow in their career. When that happens, that gives them tremendous trust on you, and when you ask them to get something done, they put an extra effort in that. What will that do is, you build up a long-term relationship of a mentor and a mentee, rather than a boss and a subordinate. When that happens, you will be remembered as a boss, you will be respected as a boss, and honestly speaking, even when they move up, they will be following you. Even when they move up, maybe even God, one day, even if they cross your designation also, you can be very assured that each time they face a challenge, or they need somebody to talk to, somebody to understand the situation or the challenge that they are going through right now, you would be the first person they would approach to come for a suggestion. There have been n number of experiences, n number of examples in my personal life, in my professional life, wherein I have seen that happening. Somebody comes down, I mean, like, even if I can tell you, in terms of career counseling online, the LinkedIn group which we have around 1300 1400 members, you wouldn't believe 80% of the members who have joined the group are certified psychologists, physiotherapists, career counselors, and career advisors, and so on. I have written to them individually, each mail. I have pinged them in LinkedIn. I have written to them, like, why with all this certification and such a huge knowledge, you still want to join career counseling online group in LinkedIn? They mentioned one thing. First is, this group is free of spam. It has nice content. It has a nice discussion going on. It has a nice platform wherein we can share your ideas, and people are genuinely asking very relevant questions. And you, not even being certified professionally, you are giving the answers from your experience, which is what many of us are lacking. Many of us are lacking in the sense, like, you have a work experience of 20 years from which you speak. I am a professional who is certified professional, and I have a work experience of 7 years or 10 years, or let's say 12 years. But that 12 years cannot match that 20 years of work experience of yours, which you have in the diversified fields. All right. Now, what that do is, to me, it keeps on motivating me to come up with better contents, to come up with better discussions, to come up with better solutions whenever I'm talking to professionals in handling their challenges. I'm reading more, I'm focused more, I'm reading more books, I'm writing more blogs, I'm writing more discussions. See, the thing is, people are helping me grow. So you as a boss, when you help your subordinates, educate them, train them in your process, the way you handle the job, the way you handle the challenge, the way you do a particular job, what they feel is you're not being secretive. You have a real open door policy wherein they feel connected to ask questions. So you will be a boss who would be respected throughout your life, even when you're maybe if you leave the organization or they leave the organization. I can assure you, if one fine day after even 10 years, 20 years also, you bump into each other in a shopping mall or over a coffee shop, they would be very happy to sit next to you, talk about what they're doing, ask about what you are doing, and have a cup of coffee. Won't you want that to be what the situation is as a boss, or rather than being called back names, or like given black labels against your names, like being bossy, being attitude, or the main thing is when you train them, they feel like more of a learning curve is opening up for them. So they are along with you in the curve, in the journey of the growth, in the journey of learning, and you will have a group of followers. You will have a group of mentees rather than employees and subordinates. And third most important part, as parents, like for us who have already become parents, like for parents, we can understand how difficult it is for us to maintain the balance between discipline and love when it comes for our children. Like, is it going to be like the strict discipline which is going to make my son? Like for me, people a lot of times have said that I am very strict with my son, and these are kind of things which are but expected from a child, and I should not be prompting him so very often, and that a childish nature gets tempered with a very strict disciplined a father or a parent. But I beg to differ. As they mentioned, catch them young. Like if you are expecting good fruits, if I can draw this comparison, if you are expecting good fruits from a mango tree, what you need to do is, right from the day you put that sapling in the soil, you need to add fertilizer. You need to see that it has a free space to grow. The soil is well saturated. The soil has enough of nitrogen. The space surrounding that sapling, the other trees are not putting shadows, because without the sunshine it cannot grow to the full extent. Even when it is growing up, you need to constantly monitor whether there are pests which are affecting the fruits, the leaves, the roots, the bark. You need to constantly water them. Now the thing is, when you constantly do it from a very early age, when the tree grows or matures into a one which bears the fruits becomes very fruitful. Let's say the fruits become very successful. The fruits are very tasty, juicy, and they are the best of the kind. Now many a times people appreciate the fruit, but they forget to understand that this fruit is a result of all these years which has been spent in taking care of watering, adding fertilizer, adding medicines, taking care of the leaves, taking care of the barks and everything. So just like that, so for your subordinates also, like as our father did maintain a balance between discipline and love. Your love should not be blind. It should not be your childrens are being noisy, are disturbing their neighbors, are breaking things around in the home, yet you say, oh, I can afford it, so let my children break, because we didn't have so many things to break when I was a child. So that is not some kind of thing that you as a parent, you're doing a good justice to your children, because your children tend to fail to understand the value of the things. They tend to take care of the things. Now what will that do is, in the long run, just like the things, they will fail obviously to take care of the relationships also. So what are you doing by letting them break that thing, being noisy, shouting around, and not being some parents and saying like, oh, that is a part of the child's growing stage, let's not discipline them, we will discipline them when they go into high school or colleges. Well, by that time it will be very late. So just like that only, when your subordinates are failing constantly or are doing something wrong, you need to go up to them. You need to go up to them, try to understand the difficulty they are facing, try to mark the territory which is like a no man's area. Like, you cannot cross this, you have already crossed these lines, but this is the final line that you cannot cross it. That is the kind of disciplinary action that you can take, and you need to mention that this is what is within your limit, and this is where you take it to me. You do not take decision on behalf of yourself. You do not try to solve it, because I am there to do that. So when that happens, they understand that the territory is marked, that they can go and explore within their region only, and for the other regions they need to get back to you or involve their superiors. They will learn hierarchy, they will learn delegation, they will learn from you one thing, that when there is discipline, things are better. They will understand that. And as for the loving your subordinates and loving your team, see, if you are constantly showing them how negative they are, how unproductive they are, or how they could have been much better than other department organizations, or so on, what they feel is they constantly feel very demotivated. So you need to understand, as a boss, you need to constantly guide them towards such a direction wherein they find you as a teacher, right? And also you need to understand the kind of mistakes that they are doing right now. Let's say a 25-year-old guy who is doing a kind of mistake in the accounts. Try to remember, when you were 25, were you able to deliver 100%? Even if you were, you could have gone to him and given these solutions. Like, I used to do the same kind of mistakes, but what I did was, I used to do this, I used to take notes, I used to write it up, I used to calculate it this way, and my problems were solved. So what he finds is, like, you're not only showing what he is failing to do, but you're also showing how he can overcome that failure. That is a huge learning experience for the employee, and he does not feel like subjected to being negativity, or subjected to being said how unproductive they are. They open up, they learn. Also, at the same time, they understand your love for them, that you want them to grow within the organization, that you understand they are human enough to make those mistakes, and they understand that you are approaching them as a teacher to teach them, right? To teach them what is needed to be done to avoid such a situation. So when that happens, guys, I believe the relationship between you as a boss and your team members improves a lot. I mean, they take you as somebody on their side, rather than it's the boss side and the my side. They take you on their side, and they open up more, they ask you more questions. They the moment they face difficulties, they come up to you, they approach you better. And what will that do is, it will minimize deviations, it will minimize failures, it will minimize confusion of the process. And what will that do is, as a boss, you will be able to deliver much better, you will be able to promote your team, you will be able to grow yourself also within the organization. Because when your team is so focused, so aligned, and so very knowledgeable and so open, they can only deliver their best. And when their best happens, you are obviously taking that banner of being the best boss, best director, and the best motivator, best leader. I have literally seen in HP, when one of my manager left, people literally were crying. You wouldn't believe, people literally were shaking hands very sadly and saying, sir, is it that you literally have to go? Can you not stay? he had some problem, medical problem, for which he had to shift to a different city where he was planning to get the medical facilities much better. So that's the reason he had to leave. And that is the kind of relationship which makes one employee remember his boss not as a boss, but as a teacher, but as a guru. I was blessed enough to have such kind of gurus, such kind of boss, wherein it was a very open environment for me to learn. Today, whatever I am, I can say very, very honestly, is because I observed my bosses, I observed my reporting authorities, and lucky enough of me that I found majority of them as mentors, as guides. Yes, they scolded me, they said a lot of negative things also, but I don't remember them anymore. I remember only those things which they taught me and how they taught me. In the whole procedure that they followed, I was not, as I said, I was not experienced enough. I was not, I say, open enough to understand what they were trying to teach me. But now I understand what they taught me. They taught me process, they taught me man management, they taught me discipline, they taught me punctuality, because everything that they taught me, they were practicing themselves. So I fondly say I had this boss from whom I learned this Excel. I fondly say I learned man management from Srinivas sir. I fondly say I learned so much of operations and Excel from Satish sir, to whom I was reporting when I was in HP. I fondly say that I still get messages from the director, Mr. Aditya Bajoria sir. He's heading the organization wherein I joined that organization in 1999. That was my first job. And today also, on Diwali or any kind of other events, Durga Puja and others, he is one person who is always sending. Previously it used to be SMS, but after WhatsApp and everything came up, he is one person who does not forward one message. He still writes at least 2 lines, and with the good wishes. See, I was blessed with that kind of boss, with that kind of teachers whom I fondly remember. So are you doing the right things to be remembered as somebody or as a boss who is admired, who is looked upon and followed? With that note today, I wrap up this session of Morning Vibes, and wishing you all the good health, safety and precaution. Stay home, stay safe, and as we always end, learn, contribute and evolve.